I was sitting there quietly minding my own business and developing some other stuff, and Walter Parks called me up and said, "Have you got 20 minutes?" and threw a reproduction of this rather beautiful 19th century painting onto my desk. And I stared at it, and I went, "Oh, God," because I knew I was essentially, you want to bleep this? I was fucked.
Gladiator didn't just win Oscars, it left scars, sparked chaos, and almost never made it to the big screen. Russell Crowe hated his own lines, Joaquin Phoenix broke down in tears on set, and one scene was so dangerous, it nearly killed the lead actor. But what really happened behind the Colosseum walls? Here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about Gladiator. 1. Crowe hated his iconic line, we all know it. Are you not entertained? It's the battle cry that became a meme, a rallying point, and the line everyone remembers. But here's the twist. Russell Crowe actually hated it when he read it in the script. He felt it was cheesy, too on the nose and out of character for Maximus. But Ridley Scott insisted they shoot it, telling him, "Trust me, it'll work." Crowe reluctantly delivered the line after a fight scene, adding a raw edge of anger. Ironically, that hesitation may be why it worked so well. It feels spontaneous, like Maximus is genuinely taunting the crowd. Today, it's one of the most quoted lines in cinema history. 2. Phoenix nearly quit from Panic actor Joaquin Phoenix, who played the twisted Emperor Commodus, was so nervous before shooting some of his most intense scenes that he'd start to shake. He doubted whether he could pull off the character's complex mix of insecurity and cruelty. In fact, before the thumbs-down Colosseum scene, he told Russell Crowe, "I'm terrified." Crowe simply replied, "Good. That means it'll be real." And it was. Phoenix channeled that fear into Commodus's awkward yet menacing presence, earning him an Oscar nomination. 3. Actor died mid-film. British actor Oliver Reed, who played Proximo, tragically died of a heart attack during filming in Malta. This left Ridley Scott with an unfinished storyline and no modern CGI like we have today. Instead, they used clever camera angles, stand-ins, and early digital effects to complete his remaining scenes. It was one of the first major films to use CGI to finish an actor's performance after death, paving the way for similar techniques in later movies. 4. Alternate ending was wonderful. The original script had Maximus dying and waking up in the afterlife, walking through the wheat fields to embrace his wife and son. But early test audiences felt it was too on the nose and overly sentimental. Instead, Scott kept the symbolic wheat field visions during the movie, but left the reunion implied rather than shown. This choice gave the ending its haunting power. Maximus dies, but his soul finally rests. 5. Commodus was worse in real life. Joaquin Phoenix delivers one of the most chilling villain performances ever as Emperor Commodus, manipulative, paranoid, and willing to kill his own father. But in real history, Commodus was even worse. Gladiator. Historical accounts describe him as a cruel, unpredictable ruler who believed he was literally the reincarnation of Hercules. He would dress in lion skins, carry a club, and force people to worship him as a god. Commodus even entered the gladiator arena himself. But unlike in the movie, his opponents were often injured or armed with fake weapons, so he could always win. While Gladiator shows him meeting his end at the hands of Maximus, history tells a different story. In reality, Commodus was assassinated in 192 AD, first poisoned by his mistress, but when that failed, a professional wrestler named Narcissus was sent to strangle him in his bath. 6. Script changed every day. When filming began, the script was far from finished. Crowe later admitted, "We would get pages the night before or even during shooting. Sometimes entire speeches were improvised or rewritten by the actors themselves. This could have been a disaster, But Ridley Scott thrived under this pressure, crafting iconic moments in the chaos. The spontaneous writing style gave the dialogue its raw, lived-in feel. 7. Crowe was badly injured. Filming the action scenes wasn't just exhausting, it was dangerous. Crowe injured his foot, broke bones in his hip, and lost feeling in his right forefinger for 2 years after an accident with his sword. He even aggravated an old Achilles tendon injury during the Germania battle sequence. Despite this, he pushed through the pain to keep the shooting schedule, which only added to Maximus's battle-weary realism. 8. Epic battle shot for free. The opening battle in Gladiator, where Roman legions clash with the fierce Germanic tribes, wasn't filmed on a set or a backlot. It was shot in an actual forest in England. And here's the crazy part. The production didn't have to pay for the location. The Forestry Service was planning to clear the area anyway, so Ridley Scott's crew got special permission to film there, and they were even allowed to burn parts of it for the scene. The smoke, fire, and fallen trees you see on screen were all real, giving the battle an intense, chaotic authenticity you can't fake with CGI. That's why the scene feels so raw and visceral, because it was happening in a real environment that was literally being destroyed as the cameras rolled. 9. The score almost didn't happen. Hans Zimmer's music is now inseparable from Gladiator, especially Now We Are Free, sung by Lisa Gerrard. But initially, the studio wanted a more traditional Roman-style score. Zimmer fought for his unique blend of orchestral power and haunting vocals, arguing that the film was about the emotion of the characters, not just historical spectacle. His gamble paid off. The soundtrack became one of the best-selling film scores of all time. 10th, Maximus's armor took hours to wear. Russell Crowe's iconic armor as Maximus wasn't just for show. It was a heavy, multi-layered costume that took more than an hour to put on each day. The chest plate, arm guards, leg armor, and leather straps all had to be adjusted perfectly so he could fight, ride horses, and perform stunts without them falling apart. The armor itself, with a total of over 30 kilograms, 66 pounds, was handcrafted by skilled costume makers using real leather and metal, which meant it looked authentic, but also weighed him down during action scenes. Crowe often had to perform intense sword fights and horseback riding sequences while wearing it under hot lights or in the blazing sun. He later joked that by the end of filming, he had battle scars, not just from stunts, but from the armor rubbing and digging into his skin. 11. Colosseum was mostly fake. When you watch Gladiator, the Colosseum looks massive, towering above thousands of cheering spectators. But in reality, only the bottom third of it was physically built. The production constructed a partial replica in Malta, about 52 feet, 16 meters high, complete with stone-like walls, gates, and arena floor. The rest of the Colosseum, including the upper tiers and the huge crowds, was created with CGI. What's impressive is how seamlessly Ridley Scott blended the real set with digital effects, using natural light and dust in the air to hide the line between physical and virtual. The physical portion allowed actors to feel and interact with a tangible environment, while the CGI added the grandeur and scale that would have been impossible to recreate in full. For 2000's audiences, this digital trickery was groundbreaking. Many viewers had no idea that 2/3 of what they were seeing didn't physically exist. 12th, Crowe wasn't first choice. Before Crowe, actors like Mel Gibson, Antonio Banderas, and Hugh Jackman were all considered. Gibson turned it down, thinking he was too old. Scott ultimately chose Crowe after seeing him in L.A. Confidential, feeling he had the physical presence and the emotional depth to carry the role. 13. The tiger was real. One of Gladiator's most jaw-dropping moments is when Maximus faces off against Commodus in the arena, with tigers leaping out of hidden trapdoors. You might think the animals were CGI, but no. Those were real, living, 450-pound Bengal tigers. Ridley Scott wanted the danger to feel genuine, so he brought in trained big cats and a professional handler to oversee the action. Russell Crowe was understandably nervous. The tigers were chained, but those chains were deliberately kept long enough so they could swipe close to him for realism. In fact, during filming, one tiger got within 14 feet of Crowe in a single bound, and the crew had to react fast to make sure it didn't get any closer. The actors had to hit their marks exactly, because stepping even slightly out of position could have put them in real danger. The tension you see on Crowe's face in that scene, that wasn't acting. It was pure, primal survival instinct. 14. Creepy moment was improvised. In the scene where Commodus strokes Lucilla's face and threatens her, Joaquin Phoenix improvised the unsettling gesture. Connie Nielsen, who played Lucilla, stayed in character but admitted afterward that it made her skin crawl, which is exactly the reaction Scott wanted. 15. Smoke was actually cigarettes? To create that hazy, almost dreamlike look in certain scenes, Scott used smoke machines combined with subtle lighting tricks, a technique he had perfected since Blade Runner. The result gave the film a timeless, painterly quality. 16. Crowd noise stolen from NFL. The epic roar of the Coliseum crowd in Gladiator sounds massive, tens of thousands of voices cheering, booing, and gasping in unison. But in reality, Ridley Scott didn't hire thousands of extras to record those sounds. Instead, the sound team got creative and a little bit American. They traveled to an NFL game between the Oakland Raiders and the Denver Broncos, armed with high-quality microphones. In between plays, they recorded the fans shouting, chanting, and reacting to the action on the field. Later, these real-life stadium roars were layered, pitched, and processed to match the acoustics of an ancient Roman arena. The result? A crowd that feels alive and unpredictable, cheering one second, jeering the next. Just like the bloodthirsty Roman spectators would have been 2,000 years ago. Next time you watch the film, you might realize you're actually hearing football fans in tunics. Well, sort of. 17. Dangerous horse stunts. Many of the chariot and horse scenes were done practically, with skilled stunt riders. One near accident during the arena chariot race almost threw a stuntman under the wheels, but he narrowly avoided disaster. 18. Gladiator revived an entire genre. Before Gladiator, big Roman epics were considered outdated. The movie's massive success, $457 million worldwide and 5 Oscars, revived interest in historical action dramas, paving the way for films like Troy, 300, and even The Last Duel. 19. Modern gas can mistake. Even a masterpiece like Gladiator isn't immune to tiny slip-ups, and one of the most famous bloopers in the film is a blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment involving a modern gas can. During the dramatic chariot scene, as the chaos unfolds in the arena, you can briefly spot a small silver gas canister hidden at the back of one of the chariots. Most audiences never notice it, but for eagle-eyed viewers, it's one of those little continuity errors that's hard to unsee once you've spotted it. And it's a nice reminder that even Oscar-winning films sometimes leave behind a few souvenirs from the modern world. 20. Crowe kept his armor. After filming, Russell Crowe kept Maximus's armor and sword as personal mementos of the role that won him an Oscar. But in 2018, during his cheekily named Art of Divorce auction, he sold them, with part of the proceeds going to charity. The gear fetched huge sums, proving Maximus's legacy still packs a punch, even off-screen. Gladiator wasn't just a film, it was a battlefield off-screen. From chaos and doubt to unforgettable performances and raw dedication, these secrets show the blood, sweat, and soul behind one of cinema's greatest epics. So which of these facts surprised you the most? Was it the real tigers, the unfinished script, or Russell Crowe hating his own most iconic line? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you like the video, please make sure to watch the next one.